Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our first meeting in February. The 2019 year is moving right along. And before we get into our regular order of business, there is a public hearing of the council regarding the proposed enactment of ordinance number 433 of the City of Buckhannon, and ordinance 1, establishing a municipal sales and service tax and use tax. 2, establishing a special revenue fund into which municipal sales and service taxes and use taxes will be deposited. 3, amending the City of Buckhannon's retail B&O tax to reduce the rate of tax collected. And 4, setting effective dates of this ordinance and the articles thereof. I would convene our public hearing on ordinance 433. Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard concerning ordinance 433? I'll call it once, twice, 3 times, and we will adjourn our public hearing and take up ordinance 433 a little later on in the meeting. And now we'll call the regular session of our council meeting to order. And I would ask that we start with our traditional moment of silent reflection. The Wesleyan community is a big part of our Buckhannon community, and last Wednesday evening, as I was up at this guy's greasy spoon up the way having dinner, I got several folks messaging me about the very sudden, unexpected passing of Dr. Rob Hall, a friend to many of us in this room, and let's keep Rob and his family in our best thoughts, wishes, and prayers this evening. Thank you very much. And Council Lady Albaugh is going to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's great having you all out. We've got all kinds of guests. Before we're gonna hear from Risa Straight first because she's got another thing to go to. But before I call Risa up, it's our tradition to recognize our Wesleyan College students. It's that time of year for the B-Law students to show up. So, Mr. Jones, you want to lead us off and face the camera and give us your name and your hometown, Buckhannon, and your course of major study.
I'm Garrett Jones. I'm from Buckhannon. Garrett Jones from Buckhannon. I'm in Mr. McCauley's Law Business Environment class, and I am undecided on my major at the moment.
My name is Cam Johnson. I'm from Burford Springs, West Virginia, and my major is exercise science, minor in business.
Risha was almost going to stand up.
My name is Crystal Posada. I'm from New York, and I am a marketing major.
Whereabouts in New York?
Huh?
Where from New York?
Long Island.
Okay.
I'm Natalie Herdman. I'm from Charleston, West Virginia, and I'm a business administration major.
I'm Liz Fabione. I'm from Pataskla, Ohio, and I'm double majoring in business administration and graphic design.
I'm Wade Bell. I'm from Somersville, West Virginia, and I'm majoring in business.
Anybody else? Well, it's a far better looking group than those bunch of guys from the fall semester. You guys are, we're glad to have you. Risa, you want to come up to the podium and address the council? We've got, it's always good news when Risa or anybody from Buckhannon Community Theater shows up. So, you got some great news to report to us.
Buckhannon Community Theater met on Monday evening, and we have voted to take some naming rights for the Colonial Theater lobby and box office area. So today we are making a donation of $10,000 to the Colonial Theater project, to be followed up with $5,000 a year for over the next, well, it'll be 3 years after this year. So
$25,000 payment and pledge. we come up and get a photo on with you? And you want to? Well, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Tell the group about, tell the council and our audience about the. Is it too premature to talk a little bit about the naming rights element of this?
No. We plan to name it something along the lines of the Buckhannon Community Theater, James W. Knorr.
Lawyer, lobby,
whatever it's
whatever
called.
the magical phrase is.
The magical phrase, that's right. So it's both to recognize BCT in the community, but also to recognize Jim Knorr's invaluable contribution to BCT and also to the Buckhannon community.
Sure. Come on over. I'll shake your hand, and I'm always good at taking the money.
I'm going to stay in this picture.
You're just like.
Good? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you and everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy doesn't let me have the money for long. I'm gonna that's way good.
My hand was itching.
Yeah.
I wondered why.
Thanks so much, Reza. Okay, next up is Justin Bowers is here. He's going to tell us a little bit. First off, his church has relocated, but more importantly, he's going to tell us all about this great thing that folks do down at his church with Appalachian Impact. So Justin, welcome to council.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be with you guys. So about 6.5 years ago, my wife Carrie and I moved back to Buckhannon to do two things. We planted a church from the ground up, and then also launched a separate nonprofit organization called Appalachian Impact. And Appalachian Impact is really modeled after what some friends of mine were doing in an urban setting outside of Pittsburgh. And what Appalachian Impact is all about is to build hope for at-risk students in our community and in our region. So it has been it's been a dream of mine to see Appalachian Impact function as its own separate nonprofit from the church for a long time, because we felt like this was an organization that anybody from the community could come alongside of, regardless of where they're coming from. Shauna Mason, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself or just...
Sure.
Okay.
In November, I'm Shauna Mason.
Hi, Shauna.
Thank you for having me this evening. In November, I took over as the director, so we're in a transition period. I am a teacher in the community. I currently teach kindergarten, and I've been here since I graduated from Wesleyan in 2011, so I feel pretty local, and that I have a firm foundation on what our community needs, and I'm with the children on a daily basis, and so I'm just really excited to be working with the program and steering it in a direction to impact our community and furthermore our state.
That's excellent.
So, just so you all know, Appalachian Impact about 1.5 years ago became its own separate nonprofit. I am so excited that Shauna is stepping into the leadership, because I would probably kill it very quickly. But what Appalachian Impact does is 3 primary programs. One, we provide one-to-one mentors for students that are identified as at risk. That is based on kind of attendance, their behavior issues, and their grades. And the mentor commits to going into the school anywhere from 45 minutes to up to 2 hours in the course of a week, and simply building a relationship with the student. So that's the one-to-one mentoring. I think right now we have about 11 active mentors, and we've also been asked to partner in Randolph County and expand the program, so there'll be some training taking place over there soon. If you know of anybody that's interested in mentoring over there. Second thing that we do are leadership cohorts, and that is a group of about 8 to 10 students that enter into a group setting at least once a week. We help them set individual goals, group goals, and then community goals as a whole. We launched our first cohort last year, so I have a group of about 8 7th grade or 8th grade students now. And the cohort will stay together through their entire high school setting. We will continue to meet with them until they graduate. Probably the strongest thing we have going, because we're able to build relationships with those kids on an ongoing basis. The third thing that we've done is very similar. If you're familiar with Energy Express, it's very similar. We do a summer community camp. It's based in literacy and creative arts. We've partnered with the schools and kind of worked with those students to give them about a 5 to 6 week program where they can come. So that's kind of the general 30,000 foot view. I want to show you a video of one of our mentors. You may know Bill Nicholson. Bill is a retiree that stepped in a few years ago to mentor a student. And then what I thought is I'd just open it up for any questions real quick.
Sure, absolutely.
Where else is you can sit in your back porch and shoot deer?
The best thing about Buckhannon, West Virginia is the people. They love this area. They love this state.
It's a small town. It's definitely a small town in West Virginia that has had its industrial ups and its industrial downs, and now it's kind of turning towards what's next.
It's an area with huge challenges. I mean, there's huge issues of poverty and family structure and learning and literacy.
Businesses are going out in this town, and it's causing a lot of different problems, especially in our school systems.
We come from split homes and homes that have, moms that work all the time and dads that work all the time. A lot of these kids don't see their parents ever because their parents have to work night shifts to have a job to afford things.
It's a lot of different, colliding forces to look at this and say, okay, we need to do something about this, and we need to step in and help the children of our community.
Appalachian Impact is a youth development organization committed to building and providing hope for at-risk students in the North Central region of West Virginia. And we do that through mentoring relationships, summer community camps, and cohort development.
When we heard about Appalachian Impact, Justin convinced us, we got this idea and we need people, and we showed up, and really been an awakening call on it because starting to deal with an 11-year-old again. The first day was good. They let us go to a classroom and just sit and talk, Just building on the friendship side of it. We've taken him to 2 movies and taken him out to eat and just try to build that. If he wants to call me, if he wants to do anything, let him know that I'm there, and that's something he hasn't ever had because both parents are absent.
I work with at-risk kids. They have to meet 3 criteria for me to meet with them. They have to be lower in attendance, academics, and then attitude or discipline, because those are the 3 criteria that lead to dropping out. In the middle school and high school that I mainly work, there's over 400 kids that meet all 3 of those criteria.
We're trying to fill the holes, I guess, fill the voids in their lives so that they can do better and not drop out of school.
We're looking for people to come in and just spend time. And that's what a mentor's about. Somebody that is going to be there for that kid, somebody that's going to invest for the long term.
A lot of times the mentors I know give them food and, just take them out to eat and talk to them over that, and then they feel safe with this person. And so then they're able to take those risks of maybe getting a problem wrong in school or looking bad in front of their friends because they turned in their work and their friends didn't.
He drew the pictures in the community. It's a drug house, it's a drug house, it's a drug house. And that's what he was raised in. When the first visit he talked and he took his shoe off. He said, he laid a $20 bill down and he said, I feel safe. He didn't know what safe was. So, that's what you're picture.
To look at Bill is to look at somebody who turned 60 and said, I've got a whole nother story that I'm going to write. I've got a whole nother life that I'm going to live, and it's time to do that.
And it's the stories that are coming out of it and how kids are changing, and it's changing our mentors' lives as well.
We are recruiting mentors in their 60s, mentors in their 40s, 50s, mentors that are college age in their 20s and 30s to do that same thing. The beauty of Appalachian Impact is that it's not just New Community Church's thing. It is the work of phenomenal students at West Virginia Wesleyan College, the school system saying, yeah, we're behind this, a graduation coach at the middle school and the high school, counselors at several elementary schools. It's the work of people who are saying, we come from 6 or 8 different places in the county, but we all see the value of relationships with children who are at risk.
This was just a new door opening, and I walked through the door.
wanted you guys to see and hear a story of what's taking place. And just know that we are being asked about every day by schools for more mentors. So I would kind of issue the challenge. I'm a preacher, so I can do this. I would issue the challenge that all of you consider being a mentor, but also just helping us spread the word and advocate. If there are groups that you're affiliated with that want a training, Shauna and I can come and put that together. We can help plug Wesleyan students in. I mean, anybody across the board. What we're finding is that it truly does just the friendship with a child makes the difference. So we've got paperwork that we'll leave with you guys, kind of gives you an overview. But any questions that you guys have?
Yeah, I think it's great work. I mean, everything starts with connections and relationships and trust and, you know, did you identify 400 at-risk kids in the middle and high school?
So that video is several years old. Shanna Parlock is not, she doesn't work in the county anymore, but that's what she said at that point, was just the middle school and high school, there were 400 identified as at-risk.
Probably every bit of that number.
Yeah, I would say so.
So is the AI office also down in the church?
Yeah, so being that we have been in a building for 5.5 years that it has had no ADA accessibility, we are on cloud 9 right now with the space that we're moving into down at the Audrey's restaurant. So we are, as a church, we're trying to purchase the restaurant, and we're going to be continuing to rent out the banquet hall space for programs as well. Already kind of dreaming about what can be done there, and looking at, through our denomination as well, there's a Covenant Enterprises office that works with grants for nonprofits and ministries to start businesses that are for-profit. So we're kind of thinking about what something could look like in that space down the road that would give students a way to come in and learn business. Always happy to meet outside of this as well to talk, because you guys have expertise that I don't. So I would love to kind of continue to say, you know, what does Buckhannon need? How can we step into that? And what might this opportunity open up? So, yeah.
Other questions for Justin? We'd like to have you back in a few months. Maybe you can pop in every 6 months or so and update us on how things are going and
absolutely
how we can help get the good word out.
Definitely.
Thank
you all. I'll leave the paperwork with you.
And Bill Nicholson is probably one of the greatest volunteers that our community has.
Great.
Thank you so much. Sure.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Sure.
Thank you.
Casey, I'll call upon you in a minute, but our old buddy Matt Kerner's got some stuff he wants to chat with us about. So Matt, I'll recognize you next.
Thank you. Once again.
There you go.
All right, I'll be brief. I'm just here to ask the city once again for letters of support. Looking for money, just moral support for 2 grant applications that we'll be sending to the state in the next week or 2. One of them, they're both made available through the Bureau of Behavioral Health and Health Facilities. The first one is a community innovation grant for treatment access and retention. And what we're going to be doing with that grant is partnering with Community Care West Virginia, St. Joseph's Hospital, to provide housing for people who are early in recovery and taking advantage of the pathway through medically assisted treatment, which will be, as far as I know, the first house in the state dedicated to that. The other grant is to expand peer recovery access in our plan there, and there's going to be some overlap between these 2 grants because part of it's similar. But our goal with that one is to provide Upshur County with 24/7 access to peer recovery supports. We want to use the 2 grants to create a rapid response team, what's happening in Huntington and in Fayette County, so that if we have somebody who overdoses, survives an overdose, we would then take peer support specialists, hopefully maybe law enforcement for security, and go talk to these people about recovery, usually a couple of days afterwards, because when somebody's been first injected with Narcan, they're really not in the mood to have any real conversations with anybody. But if you waited a couple of days, hopefully we can. There's been other projects that have done this, and they've all showed tremendous potential to get more people into recovery instead of just leaving them hang out there. And the other goal with these 2 is to transition Opportunity House from just a peer-driven organization. Right now we're a peer-run social model recovery organization. We want to upgrade, and we're going to become a licensed behavioral health provider so that we can then, instead of just doing recovery after the fact, that we can then create treatment programs. Whether that's providing intensive outpatient treatment, which is similar to what we do now anyways, or actually dedicating one of our houses to actual treatment and hiring a clinical staff. And these grants would provide the opportunity for us to get that off the ground, and then it would be sustained through insurance billing.
You figure you'll have those drafts for consideration like next week sometime probably?
I got way behind on these, so yeah, one of them will be ready for next week, and one of them is going to be submitted early next week.
So council, any questions about this forthcoming support that will loan to Opportunity House and Matt to try to get some more good grants for his
I
operation?
think it sounds great. There's an acute shortage of behavioral therapists. Is that true statement today?
Yeah, there is, and really what's happening statewide and really nationally is that we're finding that we can get, well, there certainly is a place I don't want to demean people that go get master's degrees in counseling, but there's also something to be said for the shared experience of transitioning through addiction and being a person living in long-term recovery. Not that you can't do both things, and a lot of people do. We have people who've come through Opportunity House. I was just talking to somebody the other day that asked me, there's a class in Wesleyan, asked me about them. One of the proudest things that have had happen as the director of Opportunity House, and one of them was certainly somebody that we had come to our house who was essentially illiterate, couldn't even, wasn't eligible to go to adult education classes to get a GED because he wasn't functioning high enough, so he had to go to literacy volunteers to learn how to read, so then he could go to adult education and get a GED, and now they have a master's degree and work as a counselor for one of the drug courts in the state. So it's good to have both those skill sets, to have the education and the shared experience, but we're hoping to expand peer supports with clinical oversight would really be our thing. We would have people that we can get into the workforce rapidly because they don't need to go to college for 7 years. But the people who work for me now all have social work degrees anyways, and happen to be in long-term recovery, but that's not necessarily a requirement. So we want to be able to have people that can function in that direct service role who have the shared experience and have the training required to become a credentialed peer recovery support specialist, but may not be a master's level therapist, but then we would have clinical staff overseeing their work.
Sure. Any questions for Matt? Keep up the good work.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
See you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Casey, at long last, right?
I just wanted to share a little update on what's been going on with the Volunteer Center since we're entering into our second year of funding. So the grant was a 3-year project, and we just submitted our application for the second year of funding from Volunteer West Virginia and the Volunteer Generation Fund. And Callie can go into more details about whenever she's speaking, but we requested $24,983 for the second year from Volunteer West Virginia, and that will go toward continued programming, our software from Galaxy Digital, the coordination, so my job, and anything else that we can really do to help promote volunteerism in the community. But what we're looking into is what are we going to do whenever that grant funding is no more? How are we going to continue to make this sustainable? And what we're really going to focus on in this coming year is just really strengthening our partnerships throughout the community. So with these nonprofits, civic organizations, and we're even going to look into working more closely with the Chamber of Commerce and our businesses and try to get them to get into volunteering a little bit and help, promote corporate social responsibility, just show that they, support the community as much as we support them. And then also working with the schools as well. So
we think if we can really make those partnerships really strong and show that it's a valuable asset to the community, that it'll help with obtaining that future funding. I wanted to mention that we do have some events coming up, and that first one is speed volunteering, and that's happening on Tuesday, the 12th, from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Public Safety Complex. I'm really excited about it. I'm ready to get that going. We have, I think, 12 organizations signed up to host a table and just meet with the volunteers that are coming in, teach people about what they do in the community, see if there's any good matches there. Just some examples, we have VIPS coming, Love for Animals, the community gardens, DBSA. We have all different kinds of causes, and whatever you're interested in, there's going to be something there for you. So please RSVP for that. Even if you can't make it right at 5, we'll hold the table open until about 5:30 or so. And, if you have to leave early, that's fine too. We just want you to get in there and see what's happening in the volunteering world in Buckhannon. We also have the Impact Conference coming up at the end of February. I'm going to be traveling down to Charlottesville to go to that for a few days, learn about alternative breaks for colleges, volunteer management, service advocacy. It's basically everything that I'm doing, but learning from others and what's working for them, what can we bring back to Buckhannon. So I'm excited to go to that as well. And then we're also planning some community CPR classes. I just spoke with JD and we scheduled our first one, and I'll be starting to advertise that. February 17th at 6 p.m. at the Public Safety Complex. We're going to take the first 10 people. If you want to get your CPR certification completely free, we're going to cover that with our grant money. So I believe it's a 3-hour class, if I'm not mistaken, and we're going to hold 3 or 4 of them until we run out of money that we've budgeted for that. So we're hoping that with that, our volunteers can be more prepared for emergency situations. I think with our money, we can probably do about 40 certifications. So spread those 40 volunteers out throughout the community. There will probably be somebody, that has the CPR training in case of an incident wherever they are. So help out with our disaster preparedness and everything like that. So I'll begin advertising that once we get more dates set up, and hopefully people turn up and get some certifications for free. We also are going to do a feminine hygiene product drive for International Women's Day in March. Our service scholar Elizabeth has been kind of spearheading that, but we're going to work with Wesleyan to hit the campus community, but then we're also going to take care of the city part of that and use those products to benefit the parish house, the middle school and the high school, and then spread some extras out throughout the blessing boxes, just because it is a necessary product for people in the community, and they are expensive, so help out however we can with that. We also are going to be planning a Make It Shine cleanup in April for the statewide cleanup. Global Youth Service Day is also in April. And then April is also National Volunteer Month, so we're hoping to do some kind of recognition event for the community and just celebrate everything that our volunteers are doing throughout the community. So April's going to be a busy month, but that'll be the wrap-up of our first year of funding. Some other things that our service scholar has been doing, just to update you guys, she started up the Twitter account again for the city. We already had a good following on that, so we're going to start using that, maybe get more college students involved, since Twitter's popular with them, and just use it as another advertising, marketing, social media account. She also created a couple videos that have been pretty popular online. She did an interview for the Valor Banners late last fall. And then she made a video for our Community Unity and Kindness Day to just show everything that happened in that one day, which was pretty awesome. So I'm very happy to have her with her marketing skills and making those videos. She also has been really good about just getting pictures throughout the community. One picture she took from Community and Kindness Day, a volunteer in West Virginia actually used it in their newsletter. So it was a pretty good picture of one of our Wesleyan students helping out at the community gardens. So I'm happy that that was shared statewide from Volunteer West Virginia. I shared with you some reports from our website, just if you want to see how that's performing. We currently have 92 users on that website, so that includes volunteers and our agency managers, so people that have registered to get connected with whatever's been happening on the website, whatever needs have been posted. We have 24 agencies signed up, so it's a good start, but we still have a lot that I need to get on the website so they can begin posting their needs for everybody to see on there. And then we also have 35 needs posted from those organizations, and those have been playing on the screen up there. So if you see something you might want to jump on, those are all volunteer opportunities, and I'm sure they'd love to have your help. So far, we've had 205.3 hours logged from 26 volunteers on the website. So obviously, there have been more hours logged into the community. That's just what people have put onto the website. So hopefully that starts picking up some speed, and we'll have a good data collection of however many volunteer hours we have in the community. Average, it's about 8 hours per volunteer that has logged onto the website. And over half of those volunteers have logged at least 2 hours, so I think that's a pretty good start. I also have a report of time from registration to a need response. So we have 31 users that have responded to a need the same day they registered. So it was very, instant connections. The website has been doing what it's supposed to be doing. We also have registrations by day of the week. So Wednesdays and Thursdays have been good for some reason. So we'll keep promoting those days of the week to try to get more people on the website. And some popular needs that have been posted include environment and sustainability, outdoor activities, human and social interaction, and advocacy and activism. So those are the largest amount of needs that have been posted under those interests. And then you can see some trends in the responses and the user registrations. Whenever we launched the website mid-August, we had a good response then, kind of slacked off over the holidays, but it's starting to pick up. We had really good response in January. So I think for the first year, the website has been performing really well, and I actually just met with some people from Lewis County last night who are interested in kind of starting up the same volunteer center idea over in Lewis County, and showed them all the features of the website, and they were completely mind blown. I talked to them for an hour and a half, which is amazing for me because I don't like talking that much anyway. So we had a really good meeting, and I'm glad to see that even in Lewis County, they're impressed by our volunteer center. So, do you guys have any questions?
Questions for Casey?
I don't have, I owe her an apology. I didn't respond to your request.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, but I want to be there.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'll send you another message on Monday, and we can get it on.
Monday, because I'll be.
Because the event's on Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll be ready.
So the application for our second year request for funding, I'm assuming that we are praising our laurels of the first year's success for the program. Is that part of what we'll do? You don't have that with the initial application, the second one. Put all that in there.
Yeah, they asked for 2 to 3 paragraphs, and it's much longer than 2 to 3 paragraphs. So
Sure.
we said all of the good things from the first year.
Pretty soon we'll pick a date for Community Unity Day 2, right?
Yeah.
Sneaking right up.
I do have that here.
Super. But yeah, that would, is it in our packet?
I don't think it is in the packet, but I can.
Yeah, we can integrate that as part of our minutes, or other questions for Casey or Callie about our volunteer center? Thanks. Keep up the great work, Casey.
Appreciate your efforts.
Thanks so much. Okay, that takes us into our department and board reports, and first up is our information coordinator, grant researcher, writer, Callie Cronin-Sims. Callie?
Good evening. I have your report in your packet. I tried to mix it up a little bit, but I didn't. I started with the website and social media again. But this time with the Google Analytics, instead of just the number of how many have been there, I also included where did they come from. So you can kind of see that, by far, they're coming from Facebook and Facebook posts. So that's where the majority of our posts come from, but now that we've got Twitter going again, as Casey We'll start to see coming from Twitter as well, because we know that some people are using Twitter and might not use Facebook, and maybe in the future can get the Instagram going as well. But social media definitely is leading people to our website, which is good. Some of the other locations are coming from the county's website, as well as Wikipedia, the CVB, our police department's website, and there's some more that you can look through, but most of those are just one or two here and there. This is, the time frame here is within the last 30 days, is where these folks have come from. On Facebook, our most popular post, this most recent one, was our visit to the Wildlife Center to see Freddie, and honoring Joanne and Glenn Hawkins too for all the service that they've done for our community. So that was our most popular post on Facebook recently. And then flipping on over, got information to you, a little pamphlet about the Citizens Police Academy, and I'll be sending out a press release probably early tomorrow on that. Just waiting to confirm a couple of the details from the police department on the length of time there. Also, of course, I already mentioned Groundhog Day PR. Tanner Collins, that also got quite a few shares on Facebook, his Police Duty Award, and Shirley Kenny's Best Award. That got a lot of shares on Facebook as well. We have up on the LED right now the speed volunteering event. You can kind of see down in the corner of your report, those are the two images that are up on the LED. So the speed volunteering event, as well as the dance, which has been changed to February 22nd at the Moose Lodge, benefiting the Stockard expansion, because that way it will not conflict with the Creates elimination dinner, so that was a good move. Into grants, of course, Casey already kind of talked about in depth the volunteer center and what they've been up to over the past year, so we did submit that continuation application, and the total amount for that would be $24,938 this year. We put in and asked for to continue that service to the community. Also submitted a bicycle-friendly community application. That's not so much a grant, just a designation for our community. Laura Meadows and Carrie Wallace had sent that along to me to consider Buckhannon going ahead and putting that in. So we'll see if we make the cut. I certainly learned a lot too of things that we could be doing to improve over the next year if we wanted to try again next year. If we happen to not get it this year. Let's see what else. Looking at the Community Learning Centers grants and also the First Energy Foundation grant for the theater, National Park Service Historic Revitalization, and the Fire Safer program coming up. JB had sent along a training opportunity grant writing for public safety agencies on March 1st at the Sissonville Fire Schools. I'm looking at possibly attending that as a one-day training. And then down in your upcoming events, of course, all month is Black History Month, month of February. On the 12th, the Volunteer Center Speed Volunteering event at the Public Safety Building. Next week also is the Buckhannon River Watershed Association's monthly meeting. On the 14th is Valentine's Day. On the 15th, on Friday, is the Create Buckhannon's Elimination Dinner. I believe you still have tickets available for that.
Yes, ma'am.
And then on the 22nd, the Stockard Sweetheart Dance, benefiting their wedding expansion. And then March 1st is the deadline to apply for the Citizens Police Academy, and also the deadline to register a Make It Shine cleanup. So we'd like to have as many of those Make It Shine cleanups as we can within the county.
Kelly, it says in here a GIS class.
Oh, yes.
What
I'm
is-
working with Dr. Kim Bjorgo-Thorn's GIS, Intro to GIS class at Wesleyan.
What's that acronym mean?
Information survey or
It's
system?
mapping, yes. I'll have to look it up to see exactly what.
So we're asking people to give their secret fishing spots or,
Yeah, the students in the
place.
class have been given some ideas of whom they could reach out to, either experts in whatever field or, yes, could be a local, someone who enjoys fishing. And they're going to put these into a map, and then we'll have that goes on the website, but also we'll print it out, also have those available around the community. So some
That's
are
a great
looking at
idea.
fishing spots, others are looking at bird watching spots. There's another group that's looking at, I think we're gonna have all the parks in it as well. And then interesting trees, whether we'll of course have the Pringle tree, but maybe others by age or an interesting species or different tree species around the town that might be interesting.
Yes, well, think about your experience. If you're from another town, you don't know anyone, and you can connect with this and learn of all these little spots and take yourself there, you know, that represents value, I think.
So I think they're doing a good job, and we'll get it up on the website. And then if it goes well this semester, we've talked a little bit about just continuing this in future classes. We'll be able to add additional spots to the map.
Great.
Other questions, comments for Callie? Keep at it, Callie. Appreciate you. Next up is Jerry Arnold. Never ceasing to work public works.
First of all, let me apologize for the typos in my report. I was late getting that out, and in fact, so didn't get it. Spent all afternoon talking to you. I've been working on an employee engagement survey and personnel evaluation. I'm about to finish those up. We'll have the general fund employee evaluations to council before the budget process, so that you'll have those to go together as well. Water department, they're installing the service for C.J. Martin out of Brushy Ford. Repaired a leak on Riley Heights, repaired a leak on at the college baseball field. And the contractor on contract one of the water improvement halls, bored into the bypass, they've been having a lot of difficulty getting their pipe in. They made the initial bore prior to that really cold snap we had, and then that delayed them being able to get the pipe in, so then they went back and tried to put the casing, shove the casing in, and they've been having a lot of trouble with some of that freeze thaw of getting the casing through the hole that we drilled. So they're working on it, but again, it's been very difficult on that end for the water line. Sewer department completed their employee performance evaluations. Crew 1 continues to work on Brushy Fork Sewer Extension at Westview Acres. Crew 2 is answering sewer complaint calls and assisting the maintenance crew. Maintenance crew is still painting in the plant. And the plant crew is doing normal maintenance. Routine operations at the waste department. Street department crew continues to pour sidewalks on Main Street as weather permits. Crews completed the final portion of floor demo in the theater. And they're installing a petition in our parking area down the street department for the police department, large evidence storage. And the crew patched several potholes on Monday with cold patch. So they try to keep up with the worst of things with that new cold patch that we use throughout the winter. Engineering, Jay's FEMA generator hazard mitigation grant application 1 and 2. He's resumed work on that with working on the generator specifications and the big package on contract 1. Gateway West engineering and surveying the project's engineering design for phases 2 and 3 is approximately 99% complete. Official submission of required documents and drawings will be this week upon receipt of submittal procedures from the DOH. Anticipated receiving notice to proceed in late March, early April, and that's for the sidewalk out Main Street, West Main Street. West Virginia DOH Brushy Fork water line replacement project. All that's beginning to, or expected to begin in early spring 19 with the water line relocation phase of the project being completed first. Stockard, awaiting topographic survey results from CEC so that the detailed site design and layout can begin. Continue to work with me on the necessary bid package documents, drawings, and site survey for the multi-purpose building. I skipped a very important part of, under my report, civil and environmental consultants have donated the elevation, that survey that Jay was speaking of, his portion of the report. Survey work needed for Stockard Youth Center building. This is a value of about $3,000, and they had submitted, we had asked them to do the survey, they submitted a quote to us, and I went back and asked Raz if he would go back to his superiors and ask if they would sponsor part of this towards the building, and they elected to do the entire survey for the soccer youth center, so really appreciate that, all those guys. And that's all I have, Mayor, unless there's questions.
I got a question for you on our ADA, the state project, the 88 intersect points. Have we heard anything recently about that? Do you anticipate?
I know that they let the bids, I don't know the name of the contractor yet, and we've not had a preliminary meeting. I know that the director of District 7 has been out. He had some health issues, so I'm waiting on him to come back. I've got to make a phone call over there to the acting director Monday on another matter. And that was one of the topics. I'd like to meet with Brian, and that's one of the topics of the meeting with Brian, if I can set that up once he comes back.
Construction season, we're talking 1st of March anyway, right?
Right. So, but no, I have not heard, like I said, who even set the bill on contract.
And the value of that project, as I recall it, Jerry, was something like $12,000 per intersect point times 88.
Yes.
I mean, that's a huge, it's just amazing. It's really $1 million worth of improvements to it.
And that's something, you bring that up, and that's something that this spring, we're going to continue to do. I think I noted last fall, Brad and I went to a conference, and we had a little exercise as part of that conference of going out on the sidewalks in Charlestown and experiencing what it's like to be limited sight and in wheelchairs. So this spring, we're going to have that exercise with Bike Council to actually go out and do the same type exercise. Matter of fact, I've talked to Delta in Morgantown. They would like to go over and do an article in their newsletter about the exercise. So that'll be coming up this spring.
That's great. Questions for Jerry? Thanks to all the guys. We appreciate their good work. I was thinking about the last Wednesday, Thursday when it was 0 one night, 6 below the other night. 5:30 in the morning, the garbage guys are out hanging off the back of the trucks. And with all the water line breaks, it doesn't make any difference what the temperature is when we get a water break. They're out there in just extraordinary conditions performing exemplary. We appreciate it. Okay, next up is Amby. He's going to tell us how much money we got. Tell us we got something.
You do have some money. So your balances in your accounts January 31st for general fund was $767,530. For the month of January, your revenues were $145,000 more than expenses, but we received some quarterly and yearly B&O taxes in January from the previous year. You still have the CD for $83,704. The municipal stabilization is still at $511,000. Coal tax $42,910. Historic landmark saving $3,022. Stalker Youth Campaign as of February 4th was $246,742. The bills that you're approving tonight, the 3 invoices are worth noting. You have a $2,000 one for J&H Consulting for the all hazards plan. That has to do with the police department and emergency responses and CALIA certifications, as well as fire department certifications. $1,069 was expense to Guardian tracking, an annual subscription again for the police department, which is in relation to the CALIA certification. And then $3,804 for a recording system for the fire department's accreditation. We're currently accepting RFPs from qualified online auction vendors until February 28th, and that's to auction off surplus property that the city has for all of the city departments. And again, you're going to get a list of those those pieces of equipment that need to be auctioned before we auction them. A lady in the office and myself attended the state auditor's budget workshop this week. it's a refresher course for us. Sometimes we do learn some new things. State auditor always encourages council members to attend these. There's a few more left if you're interested. I put a schedule in the packet last month, but if you need it again, I'll be sure to get it to you. We held the police department's physical agility test on Saturday, February the 2nd. 10 candidates passed that test, so 11 of them will be taking the written test on Saturday, February 23rd. And a reminder that you have one vacancy in the police department to fill. So civil service will present 3 candidates to you to consider after that. We're holding purchasing card training on February 13th for employees. A purchasing card is the state authorized type of credit card, and employees have to go through training before they're allowed to use it. They have to know the proper way and the proper rules to use this card. And then we're going to just have some APLACs in here February 13th to renew policies for employees. They offer voluntary purchase of dental, accident, and disability coverage that employees can pay for themselves. And then later on in the package, you'll have a pretty large budget revision that I'll get back up to explain to you, but if you have any questions.
Questions, Ramby? I would entertain a motion that we approve our January financials. So a motion by Mr. Skinner, I have a second by Mr. Rylands. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing of the need for none, I'll call for that question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thanks, Andy. We'll go back to you here in a few. And our fire chief, J.B. Kimball, is here.
How are you?
Very dapper this evening.
Yeah, finally got me a white shirt. After a year, that's not bad, is it?
That's a nice look.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here, a lot of things going on in the fire department. We had 2 members attend a quality improvement through accreditation class in Ohio in January. They came back with a lot of, for guys and girls that are going through the accreditation that don't understand what's going on, you send them a class and they come back and they're enlightened. And it makes them kind of take off running with some stuff, so that helps. Also, we had 5 members, which one of them was myself, Lieutenant Davis, Lieutenant Elmore, and 2 of our firefighters, Smith and Brugnoli, took an Instructor 1 and 2 course, where the test results are still pending. We haven't got it back yet, but that's 5 of us, which that would give us 8 instructors, 2 Instructor 2 level people at the firehouse, and we have 2 Instructor 3 level personnel also. So that would be 8 instructors, which there's probably not another fire department in the state of West Virginia that has that many instructors. We also have 17 CPR instructors in our fire department now, so we can provide a lot of good community training through that. Like Casey was talking with the Heart Safe initiative, 10 at a time, we're probably looking at 40 additional people in our community learning first aid and CPR. Along with the Heart Safe initiative we started about a year ago. It's kind of like the accreditation, it takes time. We have purchased our first AEDs and our lock boxes. We're waiting for one more lock box, and hopefully by the end of February, we'll do a press release and place those AEDs in our community. So, very positive stuff. The tests for our career guys being promoted has been ordered. The books are in. The 3 guys that are up for promotion have written their letters of intent. I turned those in. So that'll be going on April 9th, their promotional exams. So just another thing, a step, and once they're done, the volunteer ranks will do their testing on their own with the same process. That way we have the across-the-board training, standardization of our fire department, which is something that the CPSE looks for in the accreditation process. I have been preparing my budget, working on it. I'm going to bring this big, beautiful presentation for you all to look at. So,
should be way better than Matt Gregory's.
Oh, yeah. I got a worn out Matt, He wears a pretty blue shirt, and I got to wear a pretty white one. But a lot of going on. If you look in your packet, We got our new software for our reporting software for data. It's pretty sophisticated. There's also, I think you all have a color-coded map that kind of clears it out as our responses. We had 123 responses in January, which is about our average now. We're running about 125 to 150 responses a month. A lot of those, you know, are rescue and emergency medical calls. You can break it down through there. And it also goes into, we had 6 house fires in the month of January, 1 flue fire, passenger car fire, and then it breaks it down into a lot of different stuff. So this software actually, Joey has like Lieutenant Baxa has a mentor through the accreditation process, and this is the software he recommended that the majority of accredited fire departments have. And it's, once the guys learned it, it's really simple, but it collects data, puts it into a map. The more calls you have in an area, the redder it is. It kind of flares it out, and then it shows spots where you have spot calls. But it really shows, you know, the need of, you know, if we have an area that's a hot zone and it's a 10-minute response time, maybe in the future, as we do a strategic plan, we need to look at placing a substation in one of these days and stuff like that. So it really is good for collecting data. So, any questions?
Is it premature to tell us a bit about the upcoming personnel matter that we've discussed in the last week or so?
I'm glad you spoke.
Maybe a teaser. I know you're not ready to act on it tonight, but sometime soon.
We have one of our career guys that has to have surgery, and a minimum, I state that profoundly, a minimum of 12 weeks off. And I have spoke with the city attorney about appointing 90-day appointments, and we've come to the conclusion that that's probably an acceptable manner to do that, what we discussed earlier, because we have to go through civil service, and that has to be approved and then approved by you all. But, you know, the trouble with the member that's having surgery, he's one of our officers, so you can't really just replace him with a general fireman. I mean, he's a decision maker, and you know, if I'm gone and it's a shift that I'm gone on the weekend, it has to be somebody that can make decisions. That goes back to the volunteers in our organization also being standardized in training as our officers on the career side. So the volunteers and the pay side need to be mirrored as their abilities and their ranks. So I mean, it's kind of like writing a coup plan that we're getting ready to do. If we go out here on a fire and 4 of our members of the career staff get injured, what do we do?
Yeah.
You know, we already have that in writing and the process is there, and we go from there. So hopefully, it'll probably be Matt's meeting, the next meeting. I'll probably come in and present that real quick for you all to look at.
You know, I think it's okay to warm the council up for this, that it's tough to get someone who doesn't already have a full-time job to commit to doing a full-time job.
So we're looking at the possibility of a couple people to fill that full-time position. You know, 99.9% of our volunteer organization already has a job.
Right.
And to work a 24 or 48 on top of that is, you know, then you're looking at fatigue and, you know, because back when I started and we ran a call every 3 days, we're averaging almost 5 calls a day now. And, you know, so it's not sit around and wait on the call anymore. Just like right now, we have 2 calls going on at the same time right now. So that happens more often now. So but I will be presenting that.
Sure.
I'm trying to wait for the fireman to tell me when exactly his surgery will be. So,
right.
But that will be coming up. And I got 1720 on down the line, unless you want me to.
Let me ask the council if they have any questions or comments for you first, and then we can pull that up to the table if you'd like.
Thank you.
Any questions for JB before we drop down to strategic? Council, so that we don't keep Chief Kimball here any longer than what's necessary, I would entertain a motion that we bring to the table under strategic issues G4, which is captioned discussion, review, implementation of NFPA 1720 as a standard for the Buckhannon Fire Department. May I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I have a motion by Capari and a second by Skinner. Is there discussion on that motion? G4, I'll call for the question, and all those in favor of bringing G4 to the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Item G4 under strategic is now on the table. JB, tell us about it.
Okay, NFPA 1720 is basically like a standards of coverage for volunteer and combination fire departments. 1710 is like for a full career department, and it has a different standard of response. And when you read through it, I have Teresa mark out Chapter 5. Chapter 5 at this time is not achievable for us. So when you go reading through it, go to the end of Chapter 4, which goes into response times and personnel, and it goes back to where in the accreditation, we come up with an effective response force. Okay, and what we did, like on first alarm fire, we want 15 personnel, whether it be from us or mutual aid companies, in the first 9 minutes. That's our goal. And by asking council to vote on this, I'm asking them to vote on this for a goal. This is not going to be achievable all the time, because part of our district right now at the time has a 12-minute response time. So there's just no way until but it can be part of our strategic planning down the road as we improve ourselves.
Would you see this as a benefit to our accreditation effort as
Yes, you basically have to accept this as a goal. You have to have some sort of goal, and this is the standard, so you might as well go for the standard. So this is part of the accreditation process. If we wasn't in it, we wouldn't understand this. So truly, I'm asking you all, we tried to have a committee review meeting, and it's kind of hard to get all the players together. Tom was in Charleston, but I'd like for you all to review this, and if you want me to speak, at a late, my next meeting or the next council meeting, I'll come back. It's up to you. But I would like for you to read this so you understand what we're trying to make as a goal.
I think we're prepared to support your goal tonight, if that's appropriate. We've got it categorized as discussion and review/implementation. Does everybody understand what we're doing? I would entertain a motion.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Are there allowances for weather conditions, JV, when you have?
Not really, no. When you get in there, NFPA gets vague in some situations, and they're based a lot on bigger departments, okay? And when you look, as we go through the accreditation, we have to map out our district and decide whether they're rural, urban, commercial, and we have to come up with those significations, okay? So as we go through this, we know right now that to get to the farthest end of our district in the southwest, it takes us 12 minutes. We know that. We've already found that out in the last year. But this was designed that, hey, 90% of the time, the goal with the accreditation is 90 percentiles. Not most of the time, it's 90% of the time. You can do what you say you can do. And this is basically a mere goal that NFPA puts out, that CPSE puts out, the accreditation company. So it just follows up with everything, and no, they do not take weather into consideration.
Other questions or comments? I'd entertain a motion that we adopt this mission, this goal that the chief has just laid out for us.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Skinner, a second by Mr. Rylands. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing the need for none, I'll call for that question. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign.
Thank you very much. Stop by and see us.
Thanks, Jerry.
Well, I'm not coming by unless I bring donuts.
Donuts, and we got the best coffee in town.
I hear that all the time.
In that case, I'm coming.
Stop on by.
Thanks, Jerry. Tell the guys we appreciate it. Our city attorney, Tom O'Neill. Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a very busy time of the year, and we've got a number of things to report. Most of the time since the last meeting has been spent outside of efforts with respect to the municipal sales tax implementation and achieving an earlier collection date, assisting departments and boards with various matters as requested, many of which have been discussed already. As a matter of update, the city has, Senator Hamilton has introduced a local bill in the state Senate to permit implementation of or collection, I should say, of our municipal sales tax as of July 1st of this year. I am scheduled to meet with the chairman of the committee. It is currently referred to next week. And I have guarded optimism that that bill can make it out of the Senate, and then we will see what happens in the House of Delegates. But with respect to that, that'll be a matter of updated reporting over the next couple of meetings as legislative. This is the 30th day. This is tonight represents the halfway point of the regular session. So we have 30 legislative days in which to move that piece of legislation, and I'm certainly do not get in the business of making predictions as to the fate of legislation. That is a quick way to lose your shirt. But I will say that I do feel good about our prospects in the state Senate at least, and then we'll see what happens.
But don't let there ever be any doubts that Bill Hamilton has always been and continues to be a great friend of the city of Buckhannon.
Senator Hamilton is the sponsor of our legislation, yes, and he is certainly cheerleading our effort down there.
I spoke with Lisa Dooley twice just today, and both times she reiterated her commendations for both you and Senator Hamilton. She says she shared her optimism that we're going to be okay with this. So we'll hope so.
I've also been in touch with the tax department to ensure that on two fronts. One, that they don't have any particular problem with our local bill. But secondly, in the event that this gets hung up, that we may still have other options at hand. So stay tuned. The ordinance, of course, is on second reading tonight, and the ordinance itself, under the current rules as they exist as of now, has to include a implementation or collection date of January 1st. Again, if we are successful in our efforts, we will come back with an amendment, another ordinance amending this ordinance to provide for July 1st, for July 1st collection date. But with that, I'd be happy to take any questions. If not, I'll come back up here.
Questions for Tom? We're going to bring you back in about 5 minutes.
Maybe less than that.
Could be. No, I don't know. I'm gonna stretch this out a little. Oh, come on. Great.
Thank you.
Okay, correspondence and information. There's a whole bunch of stuff in your packet. I'll go through it quickly. Notice of rescheduled public hearing ordinance 433, municipal sales and service tax and use tax. We've already aware of that. The notice of the online auction request for proposals that Amby told us about earlier. The notice of the special working session of the City Council, that's coming up fast, guys, less than 2 weeks. February 18, that's a state holiday, but this council will be at work, right? That's our budgetary session for the general fund for fiscal year 2019-20. There's a letter to the Culture Center regarding the grant application. This would be phase 2 of the Colonial Theater. Remember, we've already been successful with phase 1A, phase 1B. Now phase 2. There is a report of cat and dog activity from the Upshur County Commission for December 2018. There's a mayor's letter regarding a complaint about the college and the city. There's a thing that was sent to me the other day, and I'm going to take a minute and read it. It's really telling about what Matt Kerner was addressing with us earlier, and it's in your packet. An addict fell in a hole and couldn't get out. A businessman went by. The addict called out for help. The businessman threw him some money and told him to buy a ladder. But the addict could not find a ladder in this hole he was in. A doctor walked by. The addict said, "Help, I can't get out." The doctor gave him some drugs and said, "Take this, it will relieve the pain." The addict said thanks, but when the pills ran out, he was still in the hole. A renowned psychiatrist rode by and heard the addict's cries for help. He stopped and said, "How did you get in there? Were you born there? Did your parents put you there? Tell me about yourself. It will alleviate your sense of loneliness." So the addict talked with him for an hour. Then the psychiatrist had to leave, but he said he'd be back next week. The addict thanked him, but was still in his hole. A priest came by and heard the addict calling for help. The priest gave him a Bible and said, "I'll pray for you." The priest got down on his knees and prayed for the addict, then left. The addict was very grateful and he read the whole Bible, but he was still stuck in that hole. A recovering addict happened to be passing by. The addict cried out, "Hey, help me, I'm stuck in this hole." Right away, the recovering addict jumped in the hole with him. The addict said, "What are you doing? Now we're both stuck here." But the recovering addict said, "It's okay. I've been here before. I know the way out." I found that particularly touching. So we're still pulling for folks, right? The Opportunity House letter of support stuff, there's one letter in there, but there's two more coming that Matt told you about for next week. U.S. Census 2020 application online stuff. There's the proclamation we did on Groundhog Day for Glenn and Joanne Hawkins down in French Creek. There's a letter from the state auditor regarding the budget process information. And finally, there was a highly applicable article that was in the Record Delta concerning the Hodgesville and Tenderton Public Service Districts, which we've been involved with our water and sanitary boards for some time now. The consent agenda consists of 6 items that I'll ask your approval on in just a moment. We would be soliciting the approval of our minutes from the last regular meeting on January 17, the approval of our building and wiring permits, the approval of payment of our general fund bills, the acceptance of resignation of Charla Rieger from the Historic Landmarks Commission, the approval of the appointment of Jane Godwin to the Historic Landmarks Commission, and the approval of the appointment of Dr. Greg Popovich to our Zoning Board of Appeals. I would entertain a motion that we approve our consent agenda. I have a motion by Mrs. Albaugh. May I have a second to her motion?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Rylands. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing of the need for none, I will call for that question. All those in favor of approving our consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And by golly, we're down to strategic stuff already, guys. We might get out of here by 8:30, Mr. Skinner.
About that.
About that. Really keep it moving. Tom, you're back up. This is ordinance 433. You want to tell us about this on our second and final reading?
I will find it in my packet here. Let me read it by caption first, and then I'll hit the highlights. Ordinance number 433 of the City of Buckhannon, and Ordinance 1, establishing municipal sales and service and use tax. 2, establishing a special revenue fund into which municipal sales and service taxes and use tax will be deposited. 3, amending the City of Buckhannon's retail B&O tax to reduce the rate of tax collected. And 4, setting effective dates of this ordinance and the articles thereof. This ordinance implements a 1% municipal sales tax for all retail purchases within the City of Buckhannon. And, well, actually, check that. I don't think it's, no, that should be, for any transactions for which West Virginia sales tax may be collected. It's an overlay on the state sales tax. If something is exempt, if a transaction is exempt under state law, it is exempt from our municipal sales tax. We also reduce the rate of the retail B&O by 5 cents per $100 on both the retail and the wholesale amount collected, and maintain the exemptions as they exist currently. The date of collection of the municipal sales tax and the date that the municipal B&O tax will be reduced will take effect the same day. As of right now, that date is January 1st of 2020. That is the revenues will be collected by the state and remitted to the City of Buckhannon on a quarterly basis. And the tax commissioner keeps a small percentage of the fees as a service fee.
About 2%.
I think it's about 2%, that's right. We are prepared to submit all materials to the tax department tomorrow, assuming final enactment of this ordinance. All of the supplementary documentation is prepared, the data files, the mapping, The ordinance and all of the associated paperwork are ready to go and will be accompanied by an authenticated copy of the ordinance as soon as it is available, should it pass today. The ordinance finally provides for the placement of sales tax revenues into a special revenue fund, which can then be used to service special revenue bonds to finance public improvements, such as storm sewer, other civic improvements that the council would so designate, and we could market those bonds through the traditional municipal bond procedure.
Tom, I told you, it does not include wholesale, it's just retail.
It's just retail, okay.
Lisa Dooley, during one of those two conversations I had with her earlier today, said she had just left the tax commissioner's office. She's very close with them. And he said, as soon as I get that stuff from O'Neill, so that's the stuff that you're talking about delivering.
Tomorrow morning.
Hopefully pass this tonight. Yeah. We've been talking about this for months, folks. This is one of those punctuation marks that will allow us to put us in a position where we can do a lot of good things. So, I would entertain a motion that we approve on the second and final reading, ordinance 433, the city of Buckhannon.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Thomas and a second by Mr. Stewart.
Oh, sure, why not?
You gotta let Thomas have one now.
Thanks a lot, Ruth.
Is there any discussion on that motion? I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next up, and I'll see if I can muddle through this. Andy, you can help me, and maybe Jerry knows a little bit about it too. There is a property that abuts some other property that the city of Buckhannon is titled with. This is essentially riverbank property along Island Avenue, just 3 or 4 lots up from Cook's store on the right side, obviously, because that's the riverbank side. And the person that has the property has Tammy Hatfield, who is Rich Clemens' daughter-in-law, has offered to dedicate it to the city of Buckhannon. I told her that, it's been communicated to her rather, I didn't actually speak with Tammy, that if the council approves this dedication, that we would have Matt Himes and Tom O'Neill figure out the deed of dedication and the resolution of acceptance for that. We're not getting any Taj Mahal property here, but it is important that the city be in a position to control as much of the riverbank properties as we possibly
So is it right over there beyond Cook's? Is that?
Yes, it's just it's further to the east of Cook's.
Is there a structure there?
Is that where they're tearing that building down and stuff?
No, that's another project that Mr. Ackerman has.
Right, we've already talked about
We've
that.
already done the Ackerman deal. This is a little bit past the Ackerman property.
So it's just land?
It's just land.
I thought there was a little bit of foundation.
I think there is like an old chimney foundation or something.
It actually borders a piece of property that was currently owned.
Yes, it's, I think 2 lots maybe.
Yes.
That the city is already titled. So that's what it's about. It would be my recommendation to the council that we accept this dedication of property. It's, again, no great value. It just solidifies control of the riverbank. Maybe at some point in time we do something over there. You could, I don't know. Jerry, you got any ideas? That Mary's making the motion.
Well, allows access to the river for cleaning.
Yeah, river cleanup. I have a motion by Albaugh and a second by Rylands. Is there discussion on that motion?
Well, Jerry talked about this sort of in depth, I think, last council meeting.
This is a brand new one. This came up during our Housing Enforcement Board meeting.
Okay, that's where I'm thinking of, yeah.
The Ackerman thing, we did that back in the fall.
Yeah, but Jerry went pretty in depth on the housing enforcement. It's a great thing to do, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the thing to do. Any further comment? I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay. G3, Amby, you're back up. This would be consideration of resolution 2019-01, general fund budget revision number 3.
In your packets, you've got several line items that I give you a worksheet on. I give you the paperwork for the state tax department, and then I give you more detail in that 3 pages of line items that's there. And I've given you a draft copy of that to review from the last meeting. But there are some things we need to talk about and you need to make some decisions on. The total budget revision is $183,898. I'm just going to highlight some of the bigger items and then go over some things that I'd like for you to maybe discuss. In B&O contractors, we've collected more than we budgeted for, and I should point out the reason for a budget revision is for council to approve further expenditures and to adjust some line items that we may have collected more on than we anticipated, and we may have expended more than we anticipated. So that's the purpose of this. So B&O contractors, we've collected $53,386 more. I'm just going to give you the ones I think may be worth noting, and please ask questions if you have any. We got $52,000 that we need to distribute from the arts and culture grant. I'll get into a little more detail on that in just a few minutes. We've got $23,626, the volunteer grant coordinator grant. We did not have that budgeted yet. This is our first really major budget revision we've had since the standard ones we did last year. So we need to put that in there so we can clear up the books on that. Miscellaneous revenue, we collected $12,000 more. So in revenues, we have $183,898 that we can budget into expenditures because we have to balance this budget. In expenditures, there's several things. Of course, we have to clear up the grant coordinator. We've got a salary in there for that, and that's taken care of with the grant money that I just budgeted up here at the top. And then we've got, let's see, $10,000 that I need in mayor's office supplies. We had an election bill that came in after July that should have been taken care of last fiscal year. It was budgeted for last year, but it didn't get it till July. It didn't get paid till July. So I have to put that back in there to pay it back out. In administrative staff, we have the volunteer coordinator and some staff overtime. That's $6,485 in that line item. In events and fireworks expense, I've marked $12,000 to put in that for the purpose of, and this is something I want you to talk about. Fireworks, if you want to do that again this year, $2,500. We expensed the second part of that fireworks payment last July, so that was $2,500. Then you did not budget for the Strawberry Festival contribution to them. Usually you give them $5,000.
There's a letter coming. I've met with the president this week, so there's a letter coming to us.
It usually comes to us late, so I'm trying to be a step ahead of that because I know you want to address that one way or another. And then we have some sound equipment going down into Jawbone Park. That $52,000 at the top would take care of the sound equipment if you want to contribute $10,000 to that, the fireworks payment $2,500, the Strawberry Festival $5,000, and I'd like to recycle some of that, the rest of that money back into theater to try to keep that project moving with some part-time labor. Jerry's men are just stretched to the limits. They don't have time to work on this all the time. And I think we need to get some part-time people in there to continue this project and to try to get some things knocked out. So, because, you know, we're asking for grant money and we need to make some progress with this grant money. On down in the expenses, course, you see the $23,500 I'd like to recycle into the theater building. The $10,000 I just talked about for sound system, if you want to do that. That $6,200 that I'm taking out of City Hall, City Attorney, that's to put back in to pay Tom. I'm taking out this line of item and I'm putting it into a labor line item. So I'm just moving that money around. Cleanup assistance. We got some grant money to help people clean up their properties for $3,500. There's a grant coming in at $3,500 and there's expenditures at the bottom for $3,500. We had a rate increase for our health insurance. So every line item for health insurance in each department's got that money in there where we have the increase. In total, we have $61,000 in health insurance increase. That's not just due to the increase, but you also have an added police officer, and if someone got married and added their family on there, that changed the coverage, so that made a difference there. Let's see, what else we got? I don't think health insurance, street salaries. I think unless you really have any, Stockard Youth Center had several line items to fix in it. They have a Vista that she did not budget for, but they are using Vista people, and I had to put $6,000 in there to cover that. And then the fundraising that we did, I had to add money into the revenue side, and I showed it down in the expense side. So I don't know, there's probably 70 line items there, and I can go through each one, but that's why I gave it to you last time, so you have time to look at that. But do you want to discuss what you want to do with the fireworks, and you feel okay with those revisions?
Council, Andy's made some, I think, stellar recommendations, but this is your opportunity to hear.
Well, I agree that we need to budget for the 4th of July. I mean, some of us have beaten our brains in fundraising for this, and I think this is a city event, this is a community event, and I think, you know, to me, we look at it the same as Strawberry Festival, Festival Fridays. This is a public event that is good for our community, and this is something that we have basically taken on to sponsor as a city 4th of July event. So I'm in favor that we actually budget for this year, because it's tough. It's tough to fundraise for it because you're just following the Strawberry Festival, and the Strawberry Festival takes a couple $100,000 in sponsorship dollars to put that event on, and we're just a month past that. So there's donor fatigue in the community to come back up again and say, all right, we need another $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 for a 4th of July event that's 30 days away. So I believe we should consider funding the fireworks.
I'm good for $100.
Start that again.
We can add that on top.
Other questions, comments?
I agree with Robbie's comments.
I do too, and the thing is, people are starting to, now they are saying, well, Buckhannon's definitely having fireworks year after year now. They're not waiting around saying, are we going to? And with everything else that we've had going on that's so positive for Buckhannon, it'd be a shame Buckhannon wouldn't have fireworks.
The one issue that we have, if we're staging the viewing from Jawbone Park, we have to have, and the fireworks are behind Citizens Bank, then they have to be of a certain elevation that they can be viewed from there. So unless we change where we're telling people to view it from, then
make it a higher trajectory.
Exactly.
Well, I think more money gives you a higher trajectory.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's
It does.
the truth.
And actually, it was better last year, and I have had a little bit of conversation with the man, and he was trying to explain to me what he did a little bit different. So they did go up higher this year. But he's already ready to come and start checking out.
I would just make, when we're contracting with them, that we specify that, and I think I don't think there's a difference in the fireworks. It's a charge that shoots the fireworks.
I think so too.
Right,
So-
did something different.
I think we should honor supporting the Strawberry Festival, Festival Fridays. I mean, we have to do our part of helping to create the livability of our community as well, and that is part of it. So,
Well, and remember, with this sound system, first off, it's not just Festival Friday.
Right.
We do the veteran stuff down there, and we do stuff
Relay
with
for Life.
Strawberry Festival and Relay for Life. This Jawbone Park is coming to be used year-round. The Christmas lighting, of the Christmas, everything. So, the other thing that Amby mentioned during this presentation was recycling of some of the state grant monies that we received last year for the Colonial Theater. We have to, in short order, and as part of our application that's due for this Phase 2 grant with the state again, and these people really like Buckhannon, but we've got to be able to show about the time that we apply for Phase 2 that we've made progress with Phase 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
And there's some things that we need to do in the next couple of months. This allows the labor and other stuff to continue to happen there. And it's money that was sent to us for that purpose anyway. We're just putting it back, redirecting it back to this program. I think Amby said, I have one little question, and I'm surprised Pam Caperi didn't ask it.
What?
As we wrap up the first half of the Gateway West project and we have new light poles, are you going to be asking for banners for those new light poles?
Yes.
You'll want to build that into your 1920 budget.
Okay.
And we'll be working on that.
We don't need to do that as part
No,
of
I don't,
Yeah.
we'll be working on all, in funding, there was a funding request from CREATE already for the new budget year. So you'll be reviewing that and considering that with your budget sessions.
Other questions, comments for Amby? She's spent a lot of time, I think, trying to get this right and to support the things that we've identified as important to our community. I would entertain a motion that we approve this resolution.
so moved.
A motion by Mr. Rylands, a second by Mr. Skinner. Is there any further
You'll have a roll
discussion?
call vote on that because you got a resolution.
Let's approve it, and then I'll do the roll call. Is there any further discussion on the motion? I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Roll call vote. Mary Albaugh,
Yes.
Robbie Skinner,
Yes.
Clifford J. Rylands,
Yes.
Pamela Caperi,
Yes.
J. David Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Rieger is absent and the mayor votes yes. So the minutes will reflect that the resolution carries unanimously.
Sign this.
Yeah, don't forget to sign before we leave here in a few minutes. Thank you, Amby, for all your good work. You know, I asked Teresa to put G5 in here, but we've already acted on that. It was under there twice, once under the consent agenda. I think Jane Weimer Godwin will be an excellent contributor to historic landmarks. And I don't know how many of you know Greg Popovich. He is he's a zany guy, but he's very highly analytical and just a terrific person who I think will work out very well on our zoning board of appeals. Take us down to comments and announcements. Mrs. Albaugh, what do you got for us?
Nothing really. I'm glad that we're moving forward on getting money in the right places. And Amby, you did an awesome job, as always. And I don't like that. And I'm sorry I'm gonna miss the budget thing.
Well, you're gonna phone in, aren't you?
Yeah.
From the beach. Yeah. Well, but you'll be here in spirit.
Poolside, baby.
You'll be here in spirit.
Okay.
Pam Caperi.
Yeah, I was wondering when were we gonna get the all-day flags down in Jawbone Park? They're still down there?
Greg's gonna work on that probably tomorrow.
Okay, because
I think there's only one or two
Well, there's
left.
one that's ready to fly off.
Say March.
The one that was about to fly off, there were two of them.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
did fly off.
Oh.
And during one of my walks over the weekend, I retrieved those, yeah.
And I'm also going to start having my meetings for 4th of July, and I'm really looking, hopefully some volunteers will come along and help out. And, Mondays I'll be starting my meetings. So it would be great if we get some volunteers. Thank you. Including you, Tim Reese.
More than just you, Nancy, Show, and
Yeah,
Amanda?
me and Nancy, yeah. I mean, everybody wants things, but nobody wants to do anything. Come out.
Mr. Reynolds,
I'm good.
Mr. Skinner,
I'm good as well.
Oh, hallelujah.
Mr. Thomas.
I'm pretty good also.
That's good, Dave, that's good.
I did want to say the spelling bee was a great success.
Okay.
And I think people had a great time. And we raised netted over $6,500. Great for the arts and culture.
That's terrific.
And I hope you all participate again next year.
And you know, the Arts Alliance regularly contributes money back to things like the Colonial Theater Project. So it's
Artistry on Main.
Artistry on Main. I have no closing statement this evening. So,
That's mine.
but I could come up with something.
Hallelujah.
So
I
moved.
entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
We shall stand adjourned at
Oh, God.
8:37.
Everybody sign that.